let's wrap it up with the final movie that is out in theaters. One that Zach said, I don't know how to feel about this one. I hope he remembers most of what happened in this movie because I may be on the side of liking it a little bit more than he did. It's called Memory. It premiered at TIFF, if I'm not mistaken, maybe somewhere overseas. It is out in theaters now. Should probably be on digital soon. And it comes from a director who I think he's pretty interesting. He made a movie called New Order a couple years ago that had a lot of people up in arms, but he's done movies like Chronic. He did Sundown, which I think was one of his first fully English, or I think Chronic was as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So this man's been around for a while. He's a Mexican director, plays at a lot of festivals. So Memory was obviously going to get a pickup because it has Jessica Chastain, Peter Sarsgaard. One of them is losing their memory. And it turns out that she has memories, as this is kind of how you were describing it to me, of being abused in the past, and he may or may not have something to do with it. But while he's the one who's losing his memories, she may not be recollecting everything the way it should be. Or maybe she's the one being gaslit by the people who should have protected her the entire time.
Right. Like
it worked for me, dude.
The way to put it in like even fewer words is like he's losing his memories and she has too many or something like that. But I don't know. It is fascinating in certain regards. I think it really is elevated by how good Jessica Chastain and Peter Sarsgaard as actors, because there's lots of moments where they're just silently staring at one another, and they're actors who are able to bring weight to even moments like those where like you feel what they're going through despite them not actually vocalizing it. So I was compelled by it, but I think the thing that you're responding to is like, I just have very little idea what to make of this movie in the end. I don't know if I know what to think about these characters or what Franco was trying to say, but it is certainly like it's certainly like a really good showcase for these performances. I think I don't know. Do you have a takeaway from this movie that's a clean one, other than like having experienced the story? Because the story is interesting, just a bit atypical.
What do you mean by taking away? Like, well, considering his other movies, I don't think he usually like directs something for you to take away. It's more so the experience of what the characters are going through.
Right. And like, he's done films that are more like provocations before, but even then I feel like there is an anchor in some kind of issue, in some kind of theme, whether it's, class dynamics or if it's aging or something like that. And this, there's some stuff there about like trauma and responsibility for pain and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again on fresher eyes, but I just felt like I didn't know what this movie wanted me to make of its characters by the end.
Oh, I think it's definitely worth it. Give it another watch, because what you have is two juxtaposed families. One who's definitely a lot richer, and then the other one who's kind of just they're not necessarily poor per se. When you have Jessica Chastain, who also has her own daughter, and then you also have Skarsgård's character, who's living with his brother. And would be his niece, if I'm not mistaken, also played incredibly. Elsie Fisher killed it in this movie. They come in and they play like a really big anchor in terms of making sure that their uncle is taken care of. Specifically, them approaching it from the angle of like, you can take care of my uncle. Because he actually like really connects to you. But then obviously you have everything that's happening with Jessica Chastain, who I'm not sure who plays the mother, but Merritt Weaver plays her sister, dude, and she kills it in this movie. This is what I'm saying. Great. Like, I'm not sure if it's so much a movie of what to take away from it, but more so an experience of you, like the character of Peter Sarsgaard, you don't know this woman, but you're getting a vignette of what happened with this family. And you specifically see it with her as the sister who knew she should have said something but was never able to. Yeah. I've been bringing up this documentary a lot, so I hope you catch it one of these days. But it's playing on Max.
Great Photo, Lovely Life.
The fact you know it, bruh. That scene right there spoke like so much, especially out of that movie. There is a sequence that is real, that is documented from a real family. And then I'm watching this sequence, and it's like, I don't know. I think maybe that's a connection that I made to it, is just this idea of like, it's not going to answer something for you, but it's going to showcase to you, hey, I don't know if there's a resolution to this conversation that this family had, but you can see them playing it to their purest. What Jessica Chastain puts into that scene, what she's recollecting, how she feels trapped. What Merritt Weaver does in that scene, especially with her hands, I just thought it was standout directing, standout cinematography, and standout performances from everybody involved. I would highly recommend it. And I think the memory thing is just an added bit to it in terms of how they're able to play with how people react to their emotions or what they thought was true. So again, I don't want to spoil too much that happens in the movie, especially with the way that it's told. But I think on a rewatch, I'm going to like it even more. So if you are curious in this movie, it did the rounds at festivals. I think it's definitely worth the watch. But it is definitely going to be uncomfortable for the subject matter. So do know that, because these are characters. Like the moment that that forest scene happens. I'll just say this: she takes something that he wears around his neck. I thought that was so cold. I'm like, good. Finally, characters who we're approaching in these like very sensitive subject matter, but that they're not willing. Like you're saying, maybe that's what was the confusing part. They're kind of mean sometimes, even when they shouldn't be mean, or maybe you're like, hell, maybe you should be with the baggage that you have with you. But that's also what the movie is kind of dissecting. I think it's not giving you the answer, but it's saying, even if you went through stuff, should you be this type of person? Can a person change? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that I think the movie asks, and I think it was pretty good. Memory, out in theaters now, hopefully on digital soon.